Back to the final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Ministers Walker and Packard, and we're talking about some of the issues dealing with the rampant gun violence that's occurring not only across the United States but also in the state of Tennessee, and perhaps both are suggesting some remedies toward some of this rampant violence that we're facing here as well as everywhere else. Let's pick up with you, Mr. Packard, and to have you to give us some information in terms of how you see this situation.
Well, Dr. Haney, first of all, I believe that you can't manufacture a gun in East Nashville. So in order for a gun to get in East Nashville, it has to be shipped from somewhere. People in the community don't have the power to make the guns. So the guns are landed in the community just like when drugs hit the community. It was flooded in by the government. So if you want to really stop the gun violence, then the government needs to stop sending the guns.
All right.
If the government stops sending the guns, then we'll have no access to them in the communities. If jobs were available, if job training was available, see, the reason why the jails are so large and crowded is because they were meant to be in place. We don't want to play with this thing. The thing that gets me the most is that on one hand, you want to talk about the gun violence and the 26 that was killed in Connecticut. President Obama was talking about the 900 that was killed, have been killed through gun violence. We want to talk about this thing, but we don't want to address the real issue at hand. The real issue at hand is if we stop sending the guns and we open up a door in the community, in the perverted communities, where people can get job training, where people can get training on how to live productive lives, where the price of living will go down instead of up, then you'll have a system that works for not just the upper class or the middle class, but the lower class as well. If you put a cat in a corner, he gonna scratch and come out.
You know, Dr. Haney, I think you also have to look at too, it's almost like, I allude to what he's saying concerning the government and the guns and all of that stuff like that. And you also, because it's almost like the drug traffic thing, you know. How do you control drugs coming into the United States when you don't close the southern border? Well, the drugs is coming, the majority of the drugs comes in at, and at the same time you got police posted up on the west side of the interstate, catching people with money going back, you know, and confiscating it. So how do you stop something when you're not really trying to stop it? And then you got to look at this gun violence thing, because I don't want to give people the impression that when we talk of gun violence, we're just speaking of in Africa, among African Americans in their community, because it's much bigger than that. Look at the cultural aspects of that whole thing as well, Dr. Haney. When you take gun violence in the African American community, it's a lot of times it's tied into economics. You know, it's the hustle, it's the thing out there in the streets, and everybody trying to hustle and stuff, and you know, and you're killing one another because of, you know, trying to make the money. It's all money is the common denominator there. But then when you take it into in the Caucasian community, you take a young white male, he'll take a rifle or a high-powered handgun or something. He'll go into a movie theater or something like that, or go into a school and then kill up a bunch of people all at once. You know, so you got to look at the cultural aspects of this gun violence thing. And then you also got to look at the fact that in the African American community, many of the murders that are committed in the African American community with handguns are done with, most of the time, illegal handguns. And then when the Caucasian community, when it happens there, it happens on a larger scale and with legal handguns. You know, and that's something that has to be looked at as well. So to sit up and say, well, let's just ban handguns or take away people's First Amendment rights, I don't think that would be the answer, you know, to solving the problem, because if people gonna kill, they're gonna kill. If they're gonna shoot guns, they're gonna shoot guns. You know, I started carrying a gun when I was probably around 13 years old. You know, and first time I actually fired it at somebody and hit him with it when I was at the age of 15. But you know, the thing is this: if you're gonna solve the problem, you can't solve the problem by being the problem. You know,
right.
In other words, you know, there's no black African American owned gun manufacturing companies. You know, they're coming into our community. How are they getting into the community? why are guns so accessible nowadays, especially within the community? You know, in terms of people having access to these guns, easy access to guns. It's not hard to go out in the streets and get a firearm, and not hard to get a high caliber firearm. People are going in, they're breaking in houses, they're breaking in gun stores, what have you. I'm pretty sure when Katrina went down, there was a lot of looting went down, a lot of handguns hit the streets as well, and they probably just made their way all across the country as well. And some of these other places where you had devastating weather and stuff, people run to the gun stores and they loot, and they, you know, guns flood, you know, our streets and stuff. But the thing is, how do we stop people from actually using these guns, you know, to resolve issues? And that's when it's going to fall back to education. You know, we're going to have to grab children at a young age and show them another pathway of life other than what they're seeing. They're glorifying selling drugs and the cars with the big rims and all of that stuff. And when I said earlier about safe income, you know, I'm talking about an income that you can go to work and you can earn safe, or you can start your own business and stuff like that. And it's safe money because you're not having to look over your back, over your shoulder when you're out there hustling. Because when you're out there in the streets, can you really trust the person standing next to you? You know, because you're making too much money. They got a bad day going on. Their dope might not be as good as yours, so they're going to decide they're going to just take you and rob you and kill you. And the first thing they're going to do is they're going to shoot and kill you, because they know if they just rob you, the chances of you coming back. So now the fear factor kicks in. So if I'm going to take your money and I got to kill you, because if I don't kill you, there's a chance you're going to come back and kill me, because you just ain't going for it.